anything to you.
You know what? I'm about to say it.
Say it.
Hold Person is a bad spell.
Hey!
And not just Hold Person, but also Banishment, Power Word Stun, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, just to name a few. All these spells and features are bad! But how are they bad, you may be asking? Well, don't worry about that. I'll be happy to explain it to you. Hi there, I'm Felix, but you can call me Lucky, and let's talk about some D&D. Now, I want to make it clear, Hold Person, as well as any other of the spells like the ones I just mentioned, are incredibly effective spells, and you could absolutely dominate the battlefield if you took them, just like if you took Fireball. But just because they're effective doesn't mean that these spells are healthy for the game. These spells can end a fight in one round in some circumstances, or completely ruin a player's night if it's used against them. And that is why I wanted to make this video. But before we talk about my gripes, let's actually take a look at the main offender, Hold Person. Hold Person, a second level enchantment spell, casting time of 1 action, range of 60 feet, and a duration of 1 minute, concentration. Choose a humanoid you can see within range. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be paralyzed for the duration of 1 minute. At the end of each of its turns, the target can make another wisdom saving throw, and on a success, the spell ends on the target. You can also upcast the spell. With every spell slot above second you cast it at, you can target 1 additional humanoid, so long as it is within 30 feet of your other targets. Pretty straightforward, and pretty strong for a second level spell. But now let's take a look at what Paralyzed does specifically. A paralyzed creature is incapacitated, which states an incapacitated creature can't take actions or reactions, which means also they cannot take bonus actions. The creature automatically fails strength and dexterity saving throws, and attack rolls against that creature have advantage. And any attack that hits that creature is a critical hit if the attacker is within 5 feet of the creature. So what makes Hold Person so strong is that paralysis alongside unconscious is the strongest condition you can inflict without outright killing a creature or petrifying it, which is basically already killing it, because the creature basically loses at least 1 turn if it fails its initial saving throw, and during that round it is paralyzed, it is wide open to get utterly thrashed in every way by strength and dexterity saving throws, and any attack within 5 feet of it automatically critting if it hits, which it likely will because of advantage. And if a creature becomes incapacitated, not only can they not take actions or reactions, this also means they can't take bonus actions, and they automatically stop concentrating on spells according to the spellcasting rules. Not only that, it is only a second level spell, which means player characters can get it quickly and easily, and some lower level creatures have access to it, and it scales really well at higher levels as the game goes on. And let's not forget that it's on the spell list of every single full caster in the game. And it can also be taken by paladins if they choose Oath of Vengeance, or Conquest, or even Oath of Redemption! So what this means is that an overwhelming majority of player characters can take the spell, and because of how strong it is, DMs that want to homebrew spellcasters would be faced with the realization that it make a lot of sense for any intelligent creature to try and know this spell by whatever means. And this results in basically every creature, both PCs and monsters, being able to cast a spell. And now, yes, not every creature, but a lot of intelligent spellcasters that, in universe logic, would be able to prepare a spell like this, would have it. And while yes, they can make the choice not to take it because it doesn't fit the character, and it's still generic enough spell that really only pacifists or people who are scared of having such insane power wouldn't take it. Otherwise, it's basically another Fireball situation where it's just way too appealing to take. And this can devolve into combat being who can get off the spell first, or any other form of hard CC, like Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Banishment, things like that. And obviously this isn't going to be all combat encounters, but the fact of the matter is that this spell is a bomb that can just go off at any time. And the bigger problem here is that this doesn't just apply to Hold Person. There are spells that are either nearly as effective or even more effective at higher levels. Tasha's Hideous Laughter is a first level spell that basically stuns a creature by knocking them prone, making them unable to get back up, and they are incapacitated as well. Banishment uses the least used saving throw, Charisma, to take someone out of the fight entirely, and Monk Stunning Strike is one of the most commonly argued features on whether it should be nerfed or not because they can instantly invalidate DM's boss encounters. Now, some solutions to these things can be giving your bad guys good saving throws against these spells, making your bad guys immune to these effects, or using either lots of monsters or monsters that can hit incredibly hard, probably even at a distance, in order to break concentration. And these aren't the best solutions, but I don't hate them. The reason they aren't that good is because while it does spare your bosses from suffering from these effects, if even for just a little bit, it ultimately can come off as countering your players' choices for either playing a certain class, a la Monk, or their desire to feel cool using these powerful spells and abilities. We're here to make sure everyone has fun, ourselves included, so designing monsters and encounters to counter the PCs takes away their fun, but leaving things as is also can spoil the DM's fun. And this is all over some spells and features that are just blatantly impossible to make balanced. However, there is a form of advice I see quite often, either on Reddit or in the comments of videos from creators such as D&D Shorts or Pack Tactics, and that is, if your players can do it, so can your enemies. Please try to avoid this. This advice doesn't help as many people as you might think. I've already said how we're not trying to counter the players, because that takes away their fun just so we can preserve our own as DMs. But saying to throw what they use right back at them, especially after they've used it against you, just comes off as incredibly spiteful and antagonistic. Or at least it can do that. Now, I know that the much more reasonable approach to this bit of advice is, if your players are strategizing, so can your enemies, which is true. By all means, do that. But due to the nature of the internet, short-form responses and all other sorts of things such as that, it can be hard for some people to not take it as, if your players want to do the infinite wizard combo, then every wizard in the world is going to use this combo as well, as an example. Thankfully, not all people will go that far, so it's not likely there'd be hundreds or thousands of groups devolving into a DM versus player mentality. But my point is that this advice does get brought up most often when it comes to spells and abilities like Hold Person, which rob one person's fun for either an encounter or a whole night. And this is why I say that Hold Person is a bad spell. Not because it lacks power, but because its power hurts the game. Same with many other spells and features as I've already described. So what can we do about it? Well, first of all, it goes without saying that if an issue arises with anything like this, talk with your group. This is by far and away the simplest and most repeated bit of advice anyone can give when it comes to playing D&D, and pretty much anything in life as well. If everyone doesn't see a problem, or if they're having a lot of fun, then great! You can ignore what I've been saying in this video and play however you want to your heart's content. But aside from that, there are a few approaches we can take. Now firstly, the easiest and simplest thing to do would be to just simply ban all these spells and features and just have the players make choices without them existing. And while this can work, it does at least raise the question about what to do with monks, which is still being discussed by Redditologists to this very day. Or something a little bit more difficult to do would be to balance these spells and features, or more plainly, just nerfing them into the ground by some means or another. And I don't really like this, because I always like for every option to be equally valid, but maybe just not at the right time. Making these spells and features just flat out worse doesn't really help, especially if they have a single function, like Stunning Strike. But there are some cases where we can employ a little bit of game design to tweak these spells so they keep their original flavor or purpose, without completely destroying them. Like, for instance, Banishment, a 4th level abjuration spell with a casting time of 1 action, a range of 60 feet, and a duration of 1 minute concentration. It does use a charisma saving throw, but that is the least used saving throw in D&D 5e. And there is a lot to read here, but to put it shortly, you have 2 options. The first is to send a creature that is native to the plane you're currently on to a harmless demi-plane where they're incapacitated and they can't do anything until you lose concentration on the spell. The second is to send a creature that is not native to the plane you're currently on back to its home plane, and if it is there for the full minute you maintain concentration on the spell, then it will not return back to you. You can also upcast the spell using a spell slot of 5th level or higher, choosing an additional creature per spell slot level above 4th. The flavor of the spell is mostly around banishing extraplanar entities back to where they came from, and then it has this hard CC component attached to it, which is the demi-plane that incapacitates someone. And as we remember, incapacitation essentially means you can't do anything. And we can honestly remove that part about the demiplane, and banishment still serves its purpose as a way to banish extraplanar creatures back to whence they came, and it keeps its flavor. But it just no longer will be taking a player out of a fight, or a boss monster that everybody then just prepares their actions to attack and then gang up on. And as I make this video, Wizards of the Coast has just released their new 1D&D playtest that both does and does not fix banishment. I'll make another video soon about the playtest, but right now, this fixes the demiplane save or fucked problem, but now it completely removes the whole purpose of banishment in-universe, given the fact that it is now a repeatable save even if the creature is not native to the plane you're currently banishing it from. But anyways, one other really unique thing you can do that doesn't cause a lot of thinking beforehand and may upset your players by changing spells is to change your monsters, but not in the way you think. I've already said how DMs either already have or are given the advice of making encounters to counter the players and how that's bad. And what I'm talking about here is giving monsters limited resistances or traits or items that mitigate the effects of these spells or abilities. An example of this would be that your BBEG is a necromancer who aims to become a lich. If you don't want him to become stunned or paralyzed or anything, instead of saying he's immune, like most creatures are, make it so that it only affects him for one turn, and he has advantage on all following saving throws against it. And you can describe it as the process of becoming a lich is magically replacing his nervous system with the dark energies that animate a lich's body. What this does is that it lets players still feel really powerful with their abilities, and by getting them off early on, then they have to slowly change tactics as the battle goes on, and it gets harder to lock down this mage. And that's just one example. You can also give him a one-use item that immediately ends whatever condition is affecting him if he ends his turn incapacitated, for example. And there are many other ways you can approach this. And while I do encourage all of you to actually think about your game and come up with solutions for your game and your group, I have taken the liberty of making a little bit of homebrew for each of the spells, features, and solutions that I've presented here today, and I've put them all into the description below that you can have for absolutely free. But I think that's everything I have to say, so that means this is the end of the video, which means thank you for watching all the way through to this video. I hope that you enjoyed and you actually got something out of it, be it thought or homebrew, and if you have anything to say on the topic, by all means, share in the comments. I would love to actually talk about this with more and more people, considering this is something that I've been really thinking about for quite some time, which is why I even wanted to make the video in the first place. This is the first time I've made a video like this before, and it's been a lot of work. So if you have any feedback, or if you just want to engage in the discussion, again, just say in the comments below. Otherwise, if you enjoy the video, the homebrew, or whatever means you think is right, go ahead, give it a like, give it a subscribe, share it with your friends, let's get this conversation going. I would love to hear back from all of you. But otherwise, I think that's it. Thank you for watching, I've been Double Lucky, and I will see you all again next time.